The Supreme Court has passed its interim order on the Waqf Amendment Act, but it has not stayed the act, of course. The centre has been given 7 days to file its response in the court, as well as status quo on Waqf properties will remain till then. The centre has clarified that no non-Muslim will be part of the central Waqf, and also assured the apex court that there will be no change on character of registered Waqf properties. The Congress has welcomed the Supreme Court's interim order, celebrating it as an intervention, and accused the centre of retaliating against the Muslim community in the guise of reform. But the big question now is, now that the centre, of course, has been given 7 days until the next hearing to file a detailed response, will the protests come to an end? Also, of course, isn't the Supreme Court's assurance of hearing the matter evidence of a democratic process being followed on a difficult reform? Joining us live, Shazia Ilmi, BJP national spokesperson. We also have Tehseen Poonawalla, political analyst, live with us. Let me draw you in here first, Shazia Ilmi. How do you view the Supreme Court's observations today and the interim order that was pronounced by the apex court?
Well, Supreme Court did ask very pertinent questions, and Supreme Court also talked about Waqf by user in great detail. I have been following the proceedings since yesterday. When the question came of non-Muslims in the Waqf amendment bill and how many would be there in the Waqf Council and the Waqf Board, it was said by Kapil Sibal that there would be a majority of non-Muslim members. This was shot down after the Solicitor General Tushar Mehta ji spelled out that besides the ex-officio members, there would only be 2 non-Muslim members. This was taken up again, and of course, Tushar Gupta also talked about giving an affidavit to that effect, and he also quoted the JPC findings. And after that, there was a question of Waqf by user yesterday as well as today. So there are 2-3 important questions that are being asked of the centre, on which the Solicitor General will come back after 7 days. But at the same time, it was felt by the Supreme Court that there are some very good points and qualities in the new amendment, though there has to be some clarification on certain points. Besides that, it took a very strong view on the violence in Murshidabad and said now that the Waqf bill is being discussed in the Supreme Court and the matter is pending in the Supreme Court, there is no rationale whatsoever for violence in West Bengal the way we see it. So Supreme Court was very clear, and I think within a week we will know more.
Yes. Tehseen Poonawalla, let me quickly draw you in here. The Supreme Court, of course, not staying the Waqf Act in its entirety, even though, of course, it has said that status quo should be maintained. They've taken the Solicitor General's assurance as well on record in this interim order. What do you make of the way the hearing today panned out and this interim order that came out?
Thank you so much for having me on the show. There are 2 issues out here. First of all, I think what this Honorable Supreme Court has done has exposed the government's overreach, legislative overreach completely. It's delivered a resounding message to the government that arbitrary laws that are bulldozed through parliamentary procedures that violate constitutional guarantees and trample upon constitutional guarantees will not be tolerated. For example, the Waqf by user, the questions asked or the non-inclusion of Muslims in the Waqf board, despite what the Solicitor General tried to make an argument, including the JPC chief earlier, Jagdambika Palji tried to make an argument that the Waqf is only a statutory body and not really a religious body, was met with skepticism. Number 2, even on the violence, both in West Bengal and what the BJP conveniently forgets is Tripura, the court has come down extremely heavily, not just West Bengal, Tripura, which is run by a double-engine sarkar. And it's again made it very clear that bulldozing legislation to parliament, not taking JPC recommendations of opposition on board, not giving time is not the way forward. So I think all in all, this is these cases seem to have been bolstered for the petitioners.
But where was all of this said in the order today?
Yes, but they were very clear about that once violence is taking place because of the way laws are being passed, this is the government's responsibility. Now, government is both center and state. For example, in Tripura, it's a double-engine sarkar. There are both that have been spoken about, not just West Bengal. There's violence in Tripura. It may not be highlighted, but that's a fact. Now, there's a more important and pertinent question that we need to ask from the BJP and
however,
from the
people have not died. I just want to quickly add over here, people have not died. In Murshidabad, people died, people lost their lives. People lost their lives in Murshidabad, whereas in other, not just Tripura, of course, I'll also give it to you. In Assam also there was violence, but no one has lost their lives, Tehseen. In Murshidabad, 3 people have lost their lives.
That's true. And that's why my question for the BJP, we are not discussing the riots, but since you have diverted it there, please allow me to make
No, you
point.
brought it in.
No, I did. I'm talking about the court and the violence. But since that has happened, let me just bring this up. I'm very, very clear on one thing. The BJP wants to do politics in West Bengal. Otherwise, President's rule, as per the Bomai judgment, could have been imposed in West Bengal. The BJP in West Bengal is asking for President's rule. And even if President's rule takes time to be imposed, why can't the most honorable governor of West Bengal camp in Murshidabad? Why can't the most honorable Union Home Minister camp in Murshidabad? Forget all of this. Please tell me, has the most honorable Prime Minister, most honorable Union Home Minister called a meeting of the Chief Secretary of West Bengal and Home Secretary of West Bengal on the riots on the violence going on? Has he called a meeting of the Home Secretaries?
Okay, you're diverting a bit now. Let me get in Shazia Ilmi. Let me get in Shazia Ilmi.
I would like my points because my followers can't hear. After
can I come in? I think you've given a plenty of time.
If I finish?
Yes, Shazia.
May I please finish my points? Please.
I think you've spoken
because
at
the
great
substantial
length.
point
If you may allow me to come
no,
in,
I don't yield. Just allow me 30 seconds. I don't yield. Look, the question that is to be asked, since you've now diverted to violence, the question should be asked is, has the most honorable Prime Minister or Home Minister called a meeting of the 3 Chief Ministers, the 3 Chief Secretaries, the 3 Home Secretaries? Have they done that? They haven't done that. Has the only central forces in West Bengal today is because of court intervention.
Okay, Tehseen, you made your points now. Now you have to hear out Shazia Ilmi's response. Interestingly, the governor of West Bengal, has indicated that he will be going though to Murshidabad. Just quickly responding to that point, Shazia, before you come in, the governor of West Bengal has indicated that he does intend to go to Murshidabad. However, Mamata Banerjee is saying that he shouldn't go.
Because Supreme Court was very clear on this issue. And as rightly said, it wasn't the West Bengal government, it was Calcutta High Court, which took into cognizance the need for central armed police forces, which is exactly why there. And also we heard the ministers of West Bengal government blaming the BSF and not the local police, which is indeed very, very unfortunate. And not just that, it is Mamata Banerjee who called a meeting of Imam Council instead of actually going there and telling people in Murshidabad and in Malda and actually looking up all the families that have run off in exodus, in complete, in a state of fright and fear. So that's one. But coming back to what the Supreme Court said on Waqf by user, it said that it has been misused and it can be misused, but yet there has to be a way ahead. It was also pointed out by Solicitor General Tushar Mehta, who said that this will not be done retrospectively. It will be done 2025 onwards. And on this, further clarification is sought, on which Tushar Mehta will come back. But the fact of the matter is that the Waqf Board is concerned, right from Rajendra Sachar Committee report, or K. Rahman Khan, or CM Ibrahim, or Mamata Banerjee herself, or Lalu Prasad Yadav, everybody has flagged the great travesty that has happened with the Muslim community, because actually, as Madni says that they have, हमारे पास हजारों करोड़ों की ज़मीनें हैं. These are the words of Madni ji, Arshad Madni, who is the biggest religious leader of the Sunni sect, my sect, which is a huge sect and the biggest in number. So there's an admission that there is a lot of property, but the fact it's not hamara. If it's Allah's, that it's for the poor, and that is not being done. So corruption and mismanagement has to be corrected. And what our argument is, the centre's argument is, which is being taken up by the Solicitor General, that we have a right to make laws to regulate the working of Waqf bill, Waqf Act, which is exactly what's being done.
Please.
Yes.
By the BJP spokesperson herself admitted on your show, and rightly so, that the Honorable Solicitor General of India, Tushar Mehta, was unprepared. So he now had to go back to the government and come back. So Waqf by user has been protected as of now. The court came down extremely heavily, asking the government how it could nullify properties that were centuries old. Yes, the Solicitor General of India tried to bring up, oh, villages have been notified as Waqf, something that was met with judicial skepticism by the court. They said there can be some sort of imbalance, but how can you actually nullify? And the Solicitor General had no idea. The fact of the matter is that this has been stayed. It was made very clear in its intent yesterday. It's been stayed today. And the Solicitor General is now going to come back. When this courts, the honorable courts told him, he should have come prepared in court. This is the first part of it. The second part is nobody is saying that reforms, transparency is not required. I think it's absolutely required. But that's something that the court has also noted, that on the ground of reform, you cannot violate fundamental rights. You cannot violate constitutional guarantees. Article 26, Article 300. In fact, I would ask the petitioners to even argue the 7th schedule of the Constitution, which one of the states should put in, because land, after all, is a state subject, not a central subject. So why should the central CAG should be auditing it? So I think this should also come in. So these are arguments I've made previously. This is a violation of Article 26, Article 16, Article 300, and Schedule 7. So Schedule 7 has not yet been argued. It should be argued.
Yes, Shazia.
So last point, and I would like to come back on this. So it's Waqf, there's a central Waqf board and there are state Waqf boards. When it came to powers of the state, all the laws will be made by the state. All the appointments will be done by the state governments, and that has been argued in the parliament. So there is no issue on that. But coming back to Waqf by user, the Supreme Court admitted and said it can be misused. But what is a way in which you can move forward, to which Tushar Mehta, who's a Solicitor General representing the centre and the government and the Waqf Amendment Bill Act, said very clearly that it will not be done retrospectively. Yes, there are very pertinent questions, and this is exactly why this is a democracy. So clearly, this is the same Supreme Court which was not paid heed to, and in fact, the judgment of which was overturned by Rajiv Gandhi. We all know that. It is the same Supreme Court which passed a very important judgment on triple talaq and asked the government to make a bill on to protect the rights of women and to abolish triple talaq, which is exactly what the government did.
Yes.
I wish Congress took the Supreme Court more seriously then.
Well, interestingly, the Congress today.
I'm very happy.
Interestingly, the Congress today, Shazia Ilmi, has celebrated what has happened. They have celebrated today's order by calling it an intervention. They have said today's order is an intervention, and they have said it's a setback for the centre.
Not really. There is nothing that has been passed, and we are waiting for another 7 days. It is not a setback at all. And if government wants to, and you know something, it is our government that believes in the Constitution and in the Supreme Court. So if Supreme Court is asking questions, just like it did on CAA, on Rafale, and on 370, we will come back and answer like we did earlier. And we prevailed. And those laws which were being questioned and challenged they finally prevailed. So the government prevailed, and the opposition and all the misgivings and all the fears that they were banding around were left asunder. So I think we will prevail again with more clarification, with more answers, and with more logic and data and real questions about real.
Yes, Tehseen Poonawalla.
Should be the biggest beneficiaries and are not.
I'm quoting the very articulate and wonderful BJP spokesperson Shazia ji verbatim. Shazia ji, like Tushar Mehta ji, says on national television, the court asks us tough questions, we'll come back and answer. When you are in Parliament, you've passed a law that you expect should become implemented in the whole of the Union of India. You don't have answers for that. Neither did you answer that in Parliament when the opposition didn't have the numbers. Please, Shazia,
I'll come back to you.
Please. Neither have you answered that in court. The fact is, yesterday, Chief Justice Sanjeev Khanna said we are going to put a stay on Waqf by users. Even now, Tushar Mehta said we have to go back to the government.
So what's wrong with that?
I'll explain to you. I'll explain to you what's wrong with that. When you pass legislations that are constitutionally challenging. For example, this is being challenged in Article 26, Article 16, Reddit, Article 15, Article 14. These are constitutional challenges. And you don't have answers for why the Constitution of India, some provisions of it are being changed. And the only vague answer that you give is, oh, it is transparent. And you can't explain how it's transparent. Because Sanjeev Khanna explained that the idea of villages being taken off by Waqf by user is bad in law. Now, let me just expose this further. The Honorable Chief Justice was kind enough, but let me expose it. Shazia herself on this show said, look, and Tushar Mehta said, this is not not retrospective. That's the Honorable Union Home Minister's line also. If it is not retrospective, why are you making the argument in Parliament, on TV channels, and in other places that, listen, they could have taken over the Parliament, they could have taken over this, they've taken over entire villages. So what they've done, you anyways, is not retrospective, you can't change it. Now there's a limitation.
No, you can't change it, but please,
Shazia, please allow me. Shazia, come on. You correct me in your chance. No, I don't yield. I don't.
Carry on.
Your argument is, please, your argument and Tushar Mehtaji's argument is, Waqf has taken over villages. Okay. But it is not retrospective. So there was injustice, but it's not retrospective. Then
you're repeating yourself, Tehseen. I want to answer that.
Sure. Allow me to finish. Now, you're making me repeat the point because you're interrupting me. Please allow me to finish. Let me just allow me and then you finish. Tushar Mehta and Shazia's argument and the Honorable Home Minister's argument is Waqf has taken over villages, okay? But it is
you're
not
repeating yourself. How many times?
Because you are interrupting.
Okay, Shazia Ilmi, go ahead now.
Finish. Allow me to expose. If you want to speak, allow me to finish. I'm not yielding. Stop interrupting me and I'll finish. Again, Uday, let me just make the point. The BJP's argument is Waqf can take over villages, all right? But this is not retrospective, so the villages have gone.
Okay.
Now you put in a statute of limitations so that time cannot be challenged. So basically, in a sense, what you're saying is, listen, there's a statute, land has been taken over,
okay.
Injustice has been done, therefore we've got a new law, but the new law does not address the past injustices, and we don't know how to address the future injustice. That is your law.
Okay, so it's basically...
You're way off. The way off, you have
Tehseen Poonawalla is saying you brought it in for optics. You brought it in for optics. You're not actually helping anyone on ground. You brought it in for optics. You're not actually helping anyone on ground.
The villages that you're talking about are in dispute. They are being disputed.
So then they've been stayed by the court.
I have smashed your argument.
How?
You have nowhere to.
They have stayed.
It has been said. It is exactly what is being said.
They've been stayed by court.
So they will not be considered Waqf. Everything else will be in.
So court has stayed it.
Let me finish, Tehseen. Now it's your turn. Now that I have caught you, and you have.
Court has stayed it. Would they tell the BJP spokesperson court has stayed it?
Tasneem, be quiet. Let me.
Tasneem, no, Tehseen.
Tasneem, finish please.
Tasneem? Who's Tasneem?
Tasneem, let me finish.
Who's Tasneem?
Doesn't matter.
Who's Tasneem? But who's Tasneem?
The point I'm making.
First, you get my name correct. It's Tehseen.
Okay.
We're discussing the bill and Waqf is more important than our names. Tehseen. So
Shah Salman.
Let me come
Shah
back.
Salman.
I think you're a little nervous because I proved you wrong.
Shah Salman.
So let me repeat again that despite Tehseen's interrupting regularly, just like he was upset that I was. So Tehseen is way wrong. It is not being done retrospectively about the new Waqf properties that have to be registered within 6 months. As for all the properties that have been disputed already, those will be settled. That is the provision of the district collector and above, my dear friend.
Correct. She's right.
Yeah. So come
she's
on.
Right on this. Except.
Let's be fair and let's.
Okay. So she's right. Uday. She's right on this. That's correct. That was the provision which has been stayed by court. So when I started at court stayed it, you said no, it is not. Now when you're accepting it, so what you're saying has been stayed. The collector, the court has asked why you've gone in. So any the provision has been stayed, which is what I said in judicial overreach.
See, I know very well when somebody is getting I know you very well, you know me very well, and everybody knows us very well. So
how? You're caught. You answered too.
The very fact is,
has it been stayed or no? Has it been stayed or no?
Those are under dispute.
Has it been stayed or no?
Tamil Nadu, those are under dispute.
They are not under dispute.
Okay, Shazia, there's another point which Kapil Sibal also.
And it should be. Those will not be considered de facto Waqf properties.
Yes.
Which is why from now onwards, 2025 onwards, it will have to be proven, or the district collector and an officer above district collector will have to get information and ensure that nobody is getting an unfair treatment. Another thing, the Waqf tribunal decision will not be final.
Yes.
They can actually go to others. So far, only.
Shazia Ilmi, let me quickly come in here now. Shazia Ilmi, 1 second. Shazia Ilmi, 1 second now. Kapil Sibal also, while making arguments in court yesterday, had referred to a controversy on the collector taking the final decision on Waqf land. Shazia Ilmi, please, Shazia Ilmi, you have to hear out other questions also. Shazia Ilmi, you have to hear questions also. The Kapil Sibal has made a point in court as well that there is a controversy on collector taking the final decision on Waqf land. How do you respond to that assertion by Mr. Sibal in court? Also, many are asking is, can Muslims be in the religious board of other religions? If you want, non-Muslims to be on the religious boards here, can Muslims be on the religious boards of other religions? How do you react to these two arguments?
It is very, very clear that the entity of Waqf as a religious property, not even religious, charitable purpose given by a Waqif who has to be a Muslim, because this is after all an Islamic practice, and it was an aberration or cleverness on part of the Congress government of Narasimha Rao to include Hindus in the first place as Waqif, because there is no such practice in Hindus. It is an Islamic practice. Coming back to this, the fact of the matter is that Waqf properties is different from Waqf board. This is for regulation. It's a statutory body. It's done by the Act of Parliament in 1954. It is not made, they are not religious boards or trusts which are made by private individuals or the board trust. This has been made under an Act of Parliament as a statutory administrative body. So this is the argument given, and Kapil Sibal was totally wrong. And he was totally caught napping and was exposed by Tushar Mehta, who also said he'll give an affidavit to the effect that the number of Muslims will not non-Muslims will not exceed 2.
Okay.
Besides the ex-officio members.
Tehseen Poonawalla, your response.
Meetings of yesterday, Kapil Sibal had to eat humble pie because he was saying that the Act says there have to be more than there will be many more.
Okay, Tehseen, your response.
Members, which was shut down, and the court was satisfied with that.
Tehseen.
So the Supreme Court scrutinized the Act's provisions that empower the district collectors to determine the status of the disputed Waqf properties. With both Kapil Sibalji and Abhishek Manu Singhvi saying, and I quote them, that this is the worst of choices in inverted commas to act as judges in their own cause, as said by Kapil Sibal. The Act stipulates that until such disputes are settled, these properties will not be treated as Waqf, effectively stripping them of their status. The court expressed shock. And it said that this setup lacks judicial oversight and it risks executive overreach, to quote the Chief Justice of India. So this has been against state. Now Tushar Mehta ji can come back again. This has been state. Now let's answer 3 things that have happened. Let us just solve. Number 1, they said that this is a statutory body that's been thrown out of the court. So now they said that it has to be only Muslims. We heard the Chief Justice saying that, listen, ultimately you will not allow this in other religious endowment boards. The court, they've had to say that. The second thing about this, and which is very important, I also have a problem with this Waqf being given by who defines who is definition of a Muslim, because this definition of Muslim is 5 years practicing Muslim. Now this is not yet been argued, will be argued in court, is what is a 5-year practicing Muslim? Or who defines how 5? What is the number 5? How did this arbitrary number 5 come? Why 5? Why not 4? Why 5? Why not 6? What is 5? And let's assume you tomorrow don't want to give your property to, say, your family, your kids, your parents. You decide to give it to a Muslim, or a Muslim decides to give it to a Hindu. Who is the government of India to intervene in somebody, Uday's property or Tehseen's property or Shazia's property? That under Article 300 is protected. Now, it's not a constitutional right, legal right. So all of these are violations of the Constitution, and these are going to be further arguments. But look, what she's arguing has already been stated. You can argue what is in the Act. They've been stated by the court.
Yeah, the 5-year rule, of course, is a point that Mr. Owaisi also made interestingly today. Shazia Ilmi, last word to I've run out of time.
I want to come in, whether it's 1913 when Jinnah wanted to have a Waqf board, or 1954, which was brought in without any actually demand for it, or whether it's 1995 and then 2013. The whole idea is an Islamic practice. There's not a concept at all of a Hindu being a Waqif, but because there was so much of land which obviously did not belong to a Muslim, so it was felt that even Hindus can give it, so that the land can be usurped. This was a clever thing that was brought in. So when Waqf is an Islamic practice, and if Waqif has to be a Muslim, then how can you have Hindus as Waqifs? So on one hand, you want land from non-Muslims, but you don't want to have non-Muslims on the board. Isn't that strange? You can take Dan or endowment, but you don't want them to regulate. So if and first of all, they are the Hindu religious endowments. Why should a Waqif and a Mutaballi has to be Muslim? It is an Islamic practice.
We've run totally out of time.
Exactly what the argument is. And it is there in
We've run
Islamic countries,
totally
and every
out of
Islamic
time.
country, let me tell you, every Islamic country, you can look at Egypt, you can look at Turkey, you can look at all the countries, even Saudi Arabia, and Iran. all of them have the government running these.
Okay,
This is
okay, we've
just
run totally out of time. I'm
regulation.
going to have to leave it at that. Shazia Ilmi of the BJP and Tehseen Poonawalla, political analyst. Thank you both very much for joining us with your perspectives on that big story. Both of them, of course, putting their arguments very, very eloquently.